All right, battery change is done. Now, let's see if we can't get this top or main case off. At the same time as picking up this bearing. Woohoo! All right, first things first, bearing is very rough. This is the bearing that we just had to lift out with the pick set. It's not terrible. There's not a lot of play in it. I don't see a lot of discoloration, but it's a little rough. So if we do rebuild, that'll be one of the items that we take care of. But, and here's big but. First things first, got a lot of what looks to be like friction material, or I'm not even sure what that is, to tell you the truth. It's all floating around here in the bottom of it. It's something, but I'll guarantee you it's not supposed to look like that. It's not supposed to be wrapped up around the shift rails. It's got to be friction material. I almost want to say this has a larger fork in it than the originals. Man, check this out. Underneath this bearing here. I don't know, y'all. I just do not know. This is weird. But it's probably only weird to me because I've never torn down a manual transmission before. I'm sure some of you would look at it and go, I know what that is. So when I post this video, if you know what this is and you do see all this stuff, please let me know. I'm learning just as much as I am having fun. So let's continue with the disassembly. All right, next thing we're going to do is remove the 3 detent plugs so we can work on these shift rails. Now, these detent plugs, make sure I got you in frame here. There is a spring and what looks to be like another bullet behind it. So the key to this is to make sure you don't just let that spring completely fly across the room. We will have to fish those out. There's the spring. All right, bullets that were in these detents took way longer than they should have. I had to stand the transmission up and use, make gravity my friend, and then use a magnet to center them perfectly in the hole so they wouldn't catch threads, so they would come out. So at this point, I've got them laid out, left to right, so they go back in the same detent. I'm sure there's a logical reason for it. I just don't know what that is, but I will play nicely. So what I have is I've got first gear, second gear, and then the 1-2 shift fork. That's going to be the next thing to come off, right? And then the 3-4 fork, and then the reverse fork. So we're just going to take them off in order, and when we take this off, we're going to pull these shift rails out at the same time. So that'll be the next thing. Then we can take a deeper look at what we have as far as our cluster shaft and main shaft, cluster shaft. I don't know, I get them screwed up. But we got to figure out where all this fibery gook is coming from, and all of this melted goo. Get you centered in. That looks like brake material, fiber, clutch material that's on the synchronizers, but man, that's a lot of it. So I'm a little curious as to why we have so much stuff in here. It's melted plastic. This thing got hot. Way, way, way too hot at some point. It almost feels like a Brillo pad. Interesting. All right, let's continue with disassembly. At least this time we don't have to worry about it dropping too far into the case. Sorry, I keep blocking the camera. Alright, a little while ago I mentioned that these shifting pads took some abuse, you know, especially when we pull this one off on the 1-2, but this is 3-4. You can start to see that, or excuse me, this is reverse. You can start to see that we're getting some wear. If we decide to rebuild it, we'll go back with the bronze forks, or fork pads if I can find them. All right, I was a goober before because I was telling everybody incorrectly, right? 1-2 shift fork rides here. We got first gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, right? Here's the third, fourth shift fork. Reverse up at the top. And then fifth was the assembly that we took off out of the outside of the main case in what I'm going to call the tail shaft case, or the top of the transmission. So I still don't see anything extremely obvious. Again, I think it looks like all shifter material. This looks extremely hot, discolored. Never having been into one, I can only imagine that this should be the same color as these two. It would also add credence to the entire reason that we have melted goo, melted material all on the top of this reverse gear. So I'm willing to bet for the moment that my problem is in this area. I've got definitely a heat problem. Not too sure, get a flashlight. Not too sure if anybody can, or if the camera will pick it up, but in this area, woo. All right, round two, we'll try this again. Not too sure if the camera will, pick it up, but you can see I've got melted goo all on the outside of that reversed shift fork. So the bearing looks like it's got a little bit of heat. I'm not doing a very good job with this flashlight, I apologize. We're keeping it in the camera. Bearing's got a little bit of discoloration. It's not too terrible, but I'm willing to bet that my problem is in here. Now, logic would dictate that that's not my only place that I have a problem, but those synchronizers for reverse looks really good. Third, fourth, I mean, I don't see any issues at this point. I don't know if I can get it to focus really well. Turn it this way so I can get in there. That doesn't help either. No issues there. See, I got it laying on this one, so I can't get it to slide. But the next step is we will put it in a vise and we will completely disassemble this and try to figure out what's going on. Now, as far as the case goes, I don't see any issues immediately. These races don't press in, so that should pop right out after without too much effort. Just a press or a slip fit. I don't see any damage anywhere. Rust washer, we'll get that out with the race. Right. Even this race doesn't look too terribly bad. The case does not look damaged at all, which I am pleasantly surprised with. I don't see any issues down in the shift rails. So, we are going to, I'll get this seal here removed. I'll get this race pulled out. That race should just slide out. I just got to get a pick in there and get to it. So no problems there. This shaft looks good. I don't see much wear. Obviously, if I rebuild it, all the bearings will be rebuilt. I may, for the price point, see if I can't find a 26 spline shaft. Means I'll have to replace the clutch, but that's okay. I want to put a stage 2 clutch in it anyway. But yeah, I'm gonna have to tear it down a little bit further and see what we have. But right now, end of the day, the only problem that I see initially is right up here around reverse. So I'm going to be very interested to get that apart. The amount of friction material that's in the bottom of the case and this melted goo here, I'm going to be very, very, very surprised if that is just the friction material off of that one synchronizer. That's a lot of stuff floating around in the bottom. So anyhow, I'm going to pause this, get everything cleaned up and organized, and then we'll continue tearing down. All right, back again. No idea what I'm doing, so let's have some fun together. First thing we have to do is take off this snap ring. Not much different than the other ones. The only difference is this one's not going to go flying far if my pliers slip. Come on. There we go. Over that. Over that. Perfect. All right. After rigging at its best and making the tool and making it work, I'm finally ready to start pressing off a few of these pieces. This is not exactly the way it should be. This is more of a safety third type of event and misuse of tools, but you got to do what you got to do, right? I'm really interested to get this reverse gear off. I want to do it today. I don't want to have to wait. I don't want to take it somewhere to my buddy's house where he has a press. So yeah, we're making do. So don't do this at home. Just laugh with me, and you know, if I get hurt, you know, at least I'll keep nurses and doctors in business, right? Fortunately, it's not pressed on very hard, so I'm not having to put a tremendous amount of pressure on it in order to get it to come off. So yeah, at least this gear will come off. I don't know about the bearing. I don't know about reverse, but we shall see. I don't know if my tool's going to slip off first or if the gear is actually going to come off first. Rigging at its best. Oops. Hey, hey. We have progress. That feels like it just released. Hallelujah. Now, I'll figure out how to get all of my contraption taken apart so I can get to that gear. Let's see here. Come on off. All right, 5th gear is completely off. Looks perfect. I don't see any reason in the world why I would not reuse that. I think I'm going to do another faux pas and I'm going to get an impact on it. Famous last words, because I might come to regret it. Alright YouTube, nothing like a little bit of success. So when everything came out, that thrust bearing that was behind the reverse gear just absolutely disintegrated. So now let's see if I'm able to just pull that off. Get this out of the way. Let's see if we can get some light in here. I think we found our problem. Now we just need to find out if it did any more damage. And those needles were held in place just fine, but the entire plastic housing that holds them together is gone. Rolling to bed. That's my failure point right there. Alright. Ball bearing is still there, just like before. Every time we take one of these off, we got to make sure we get that metal ball. See that metal ball right there. So still need to make sure I capture that, because that's not going to be something I have to worry about. But let's try taking the rest of it apart. Alright, no matter how much rigging I attempted to do and how I tried to extend my pullers in order to get first gear off, it just wasn't going to work. Either I was going to kill myself, I was going to break the gear, or I was just going to get frustrated and go drink beer. Might not be a bad idea. So with that being said, we decided to make another purchase for the shop. I've been putting it off for years. I didn't want to have something just sitting in a corner collecting dust, and I tell myself that it's going to collect dust every time that I wish I had one. So I finally went ahead and just made the purchase today. This will make getting that gear, first gear off of that shaft so much easier, and the 7,500 other things that I need to do. It'll make those things easier. So let's get this put together and get that first gear pressed off. So
little bit about it, just a 20 ton. I was gonna pick this up, but it's a little heavier than my one hand I can reach across and get it. 20 ton, non-hydraulic, it's hand, correct?
Well, it is hydraulic.
Well, it's a hydraulic.
It's not pneumatic.
Not pneumatic, I'm sorry. Not pneumatic. It is a puppy. And just like that, voila. We have a press. We have a press.
We have a press.
So this is not where it's going to live, obviously. However, we are going to go ahead and pull that pesky gear, pesky first gear, out of this transmission.
Yes.
It's been plaguing us for a while. Now finally, gonna get it done ourselves, because evidently finding a person to press off a gear is not easy. So another thing we did purchase while we were out and shopping was a 6-inch bearing splitter, which works perfectly, I would dare say.
Yes, it does.
She don't.
There's those needle bearings coming out. You getting this? All right, now let's go back to the bench and see what we have.
I don't know if you guys could see that. There's a ton of just little metal shards that fell right out of there. Once that broke free, all that bearing.
All right, this is the collar that we could not get off, that the needle bearing for the reverse gear rides on. You can see that it has definitely discolored. It did get hot, but we were showing you earlier when we pulled the reverse gear off just how bad that needle bearing looked. All right, cone and cone seat for reverse gear. We've got some cleaning up to do on this. Yeah, that got a little bit hot, and quite a bit of plastic decided to, to keep us from pulling it off with just a puller. All right, first gear. First gear. Looks like, it's got some scoring. Clean it up. Yeah, interesting. We'll dig into this here in a little bit. But as you can see, there's where the rest of the bearing went.
This is trying to get some digging around in there for. And this is all bearing. Just looks like it exploded. This is just, wow. And this is just all metal. Probably half why we couldn't get it off. That plastic was probably acting like a glue.
Yep. This is the first gear synchro. And
look at everything there.
Yep.
I don't even think the camera does that justice either. It's all bearing. everything under here is just coated in plastic and metal. I mean, even the snap ring was glued in there. Just molten plastic acting as an adhesive. Like, all this is just plastic. That's gonna have to be cleaned off. Some more work for us.
I think we're okay. I'm sure somebody out there would say, you are crazy. Why would you even attempt to reuse this? And you know what? They would be right. Another synchronizer, cone.
One thing while he's tinkering with that is we did get a warranty on the battery, so it'll actually start when we want it to start. So yellow top.
I wasn't planning on taking this side all the way down, but I feel like I need to inspect it. You know what?
Yeah.
That looks fine.
And as we get further down, it's the less and less plastic is in there, obviously, but still just remnants and a little buildup of that pesky one bearing.
Oh, it was 2 bearings.
Oh,
Actually.
2 bearings. Well,
2 of these.
This is what it's supposed to look like.
Let's not get dirt in there. I'm gonna reuse that one.
Yeah.
You gotta see dirt on the gloves. So, yep, that looks fine.